and welcome to Big Pauly's Bits. We haven't done one of these in a while. This is for March 31st, 2021. And hello there, everybody. It's your very friendly neighborhood Big Pauly coming to you on this last day of March, the last day before the 2021 Major League Baseball season gets kicked off. And we're going to provide you a little bit of a news update over the next few minutes. We'll begin with OOTP 22. We have started the Perfect Team series with that. May do a few projects here and there with OOTP 22 as the year progresses. A very good opening for them, and it helps to have Major League Baseball behind you when you sell a product like OOTP. They call it the baseball sandbox, and I totally agree with that consensus. We have done four, I have done, here I go with the we's again, four, count them, four episodes of OOTP 22 Perfect Team because I made an error in the third, sold away a few players on collection missions, so we corrected that and did a very brief fourth episode. We'll do another one tomorrow. HGFL news, we begin that on my 50th birthday, September 6, 2021. Of course, the big news in the NFL right now is that they are expanding to a 17 game schedule. So it's going to be an 18-week season, and everybody's going to play 17 games. Everybody's going to play 5 teams outside of their conference. And for instance, Tampa Bay, they picked up the Indianapolis Colts, who they will play. And I think football is going to get in the same rut baseball does, because there's only so many compelling matchups you could have when you take the divisions from opposite leagues, like the Bucks are playing an AFC South team. People want to see Tampa Bay play Miami, Tampa Bay play Jacksonville, and some. They want the sexy matchups, and I don't think if you put Tampa Bay against Indianapolis, it's going to work. Baseball has run into the same problem with interleague play, and that's why before COVID they were rotating the divisions each team played, and I think the 2021 they're going to be playing in the National League East as they did in 2020, just because it saves travel time. And with COVID going on, Mr. Co's going to be around a while. I think that's going to continue. But getting back to HTFL news, Dave Koch Sports is putting out Action PC 2021 I think it's April 15th. And they made a big announcement that with this edition of Action PC Football, you could have a roster size of 100. So all 32 teams in the HTFL will have 100 men on their roster, which is going to make the big team steeper, and it's going to make Las Vegas probably a lot more worse off because Las Vegas is the team that's going to be building up as the years progress if I should happen to keep doing this by 2030 or 2035. We'll get you over to Franchise Hockey Manager, talk about that for a moment. Lightning did well in my last video. They won 4 out of 5 games, so we're now getting into the 1994 portion of the 93-94 season, and the Lightning are beginning to make progress. So Brian Bradley just got hurt in the last game and is going to be day-to-day for 10 games. We'll come back to that next week. Grand Slam Wrestling continues on. We just had a merger between the Detroit and Minnesota Minneapolis circuits, so Minneapolis will be deeper. And that's something that I allow to happen in the game because it kind of simulates 80s wrestling. And there were mergers and there were companies that folded, and this GSW is going to simulate that. What else am I leaving out? Always something you leave out when you do these videos, and I want to make sure I mention it. Let's see, I talked about OOTP, I talked about the HTFL, and I also talked about Franchise Hockey Manager, and I talked about Grand Slam Wrestling. Oh, yes, there was one other thing I wanted to talk about. We're going to be debuting in probably next week, Glory Days Boxing. As I happen to... This is one of my favorite games to watch on YouTube. Watch Al Red Sox Fan and Anthony over at Bleacher Bums Gaming play. And Kurt Berglund also does his fights very, very well. And it's one of those games I like watching. And I like watching the mechanics of the board game. So this is going to be the first board game I have done on the channel. So that's going to be both pleasant and a nightmare at the same time because I'm going to have to figure out how am I going to have a board game here in my bedroom. But we'll figure it out. I ordered some dice because Anthony said that the dice doesn't come with the game, so I ordered the six-sided die and the ten-sided die and the 20-sided die, and they're all going to be the same color. So I'm probably have to go lefty righty. On like for instance, when you roll for the segment and you have the two six-sided die, I'll just have to make the left one red and the right one blue, and all the 10-sided die are the same color and all the 20-sided die are the same color. So I didn't really luck out on Amazon on that. So we'll figure something out, and we'll just have to go lefty righty, and the 10-sided die on the left will count as the tens digits, and the right side die will count as the singles digit, and we'll figure out something with that. I kind of have a format all figured out as to how I'm going to do it. I would like to do it on Friday night. The fight's on Friday night. Friday night fight. Might have to do it Saturday. What I would ask from you, my fans, my followers, my subscribers, and I might have to burp a moment. Sorry, I had a. That's the problem with having so much Coke is it just makes you burp uncontrollably at times. Trying to think of a name for the commission, the council, the federation. Like in boxing, you have the World Boxing Association, the World Boxing Council, the International Boxing Federation, and then later there was the World Boxing Organization. And everybody had a name in the 90s for their champions, and it created a whole mess because there were very few unified champs. And what I'm going to do with mine is I'm going to have one heavyweight champion. Probably going to stick just to heavyweights because you get 200 heavyweights, and and we're probably going to have like a 12 round title like back in the old days of boxing. The minor titles were 12 rounds. Probably call it something like the continental title or the international title or something like that. But what I'm looking for is the name of the organization. I'm thinking of something like Big Pauly's Boxing Council or Big Pauly's Boxing Association, something the BPBA, something like that. But I also want to do is I want to throw the word heavyweight in there somewhere. So if you're thinking of a name, if you want to throw the word heavyweight in there, I'm thinking HBO, the Heavyweight Boxing Organization, kind of like how up until a few years ago, the big fights, relatively big fights were on HBO or on an HBO pay-per-view. There's HBO and Showtime. Does Showtime still do fights? I don't know. I don't watch a lot of Showtime. Uh, but I want to come up with a name for the organization, and I will plead and beseech upon you, my fans, my followers, my subscribers. Think of a good name. I'm thinking of something like the Heavyweight Boxing Organization, HBO, kind of honor what they did with prize fighting for almost half a century on their cable system. So that's what I'm thinking of. I'll listen to this. I will listen to all your suggestions, and if I pick yours, I will give you credit for it. Just like I did with Hometown Bowl, the Hometown Bowl of the Hometown Football League. That will start September 6th. I will end my little entry for Big Pauly's Bits right now. I'm going to wish you all happy Easter a few days in advance. We have Easter coming up April 4. Shots rang out in the Memphis sky, unfortunately. That's the day Martin Luther King was assassinated. But on this April 4, it is Easter, and I wish you all a very peaceful Easter. Godspeed and God bless. And we'll do it all again soon. Bye bye for now, everybody. And I go over here and I hit stop.